Welcome to our channel, where we take you on a journey through the world of movies and TV shows. Today, we're excited to bring you a recap of one of the most thrilling and action-packed movies of recent times, The Last Kingdom: Seven Kings Must Die. Annulf, a resolute warrior, launches an attack on a small territory and apprehends a spy. However, Annulf is oblivious to the fact that the spy he has detained is his own daughter, which is an utterly shocking revelation. As the story unfolds, Annulf engages in a conversation with his daughter regarding the King of Wintoncester, who is supposedly on his deathbed. Annulf perceives this as a propitious moment to seize the throne, and dispatches his daughter back to Wintoncester to monitor the situation. Following the king's demise, the kingdom falls into disarray, with three heirs vying for the throne, including Ealf Weird. Driven by a sense of desperation, Ealf Weird launches an attack on Wintoncester, triggering the queen, Egifu, to escape with her son Edmund to Northumbria, where no king reigns. However, the inhabitants of Northumbria hold a certain individual named Uhtred in high regard, and Egifu hopes to garner his support. Who is Uhtred? You will need to stay tuned to discover his identity. Egifu, the Queen of Wintoncester, has sought refuge with Uhtred in Northumbria after her son, Ealf Weird, seized power in her homeland. Uhtred is determined to help her reclaim her throne and remove Ealf Weird from power. But he can't do it alone, so he calls upon his two trusty friends, one of whom is Finan, to accompany him on this dangerous mission. And let me tell you, folks, the danger is definitely on the horizon. Ingrith, Finan's wife, has been having ominous dreams about the seven kings of the seven kingdoms dying, including the king of Northumbria and his wife. But Uhtred assures her that she has nothing to worry about, as he is neither the king of Northumbria nor in love with anyone. So, she can stop worrying about him. With his friends by his side, Uhtred sets out for Wintoncester, ready to take on Ealf Weird and his forces. Athelstan, the third son of the deceased king of Wintoncester, has also arrived on the scene. And he's not here to make peace, he wants to rule the kingdom for himself. Athelstan shows up the next morning with his army and demands that his brother Ealf Weird surrender. But Uhtred also arrived on the scene and urged Ealf Weird to lay down his weapons and end the war. And it seemed like he just did that, but suddenly, everything changed. Athelstan shows his true colors. In a shocking turn of events, he kills his own brother, Ealf Weird, in cold blood. Uhtred is left reeling, stunned by this unexpected act of treachery. But the tragedy didn't end there. With Ealf Weird dead, a fight broke out between Athelstan's soldiers and those loyal to Ealf Weird. The sound of clanging swords and battle cries echoed through the kingdom as the two sides clashed. And Uhtred is not only a brave warrior but also a wise and diplomatic person. Even in the midst of battle, he's trying to find a way to bring peace to the land and end the bloodshed. After his sword is snatched, Uhtred goes to Athelstan and implores him to stop fighting and think about the innocent lives that are being lost. He suggests that all the kingdoms should be united to form England, and that everyone should work together to create a better future for their people. But Athelstan's friend Ingilmander is skeptical of Uhtred's motives and asks him to surrender his kingdom, if he truly believes in this idea of unity. Uhtred agrees, telling them that he's not a king and has no interest in ruling over anyone. After this encounter, Uhtred leaves the battlefield and returns to Northumbria to inform Egifu of what has happened. He tells her that Ealf Weird is dead and Athelstan now rules over Wintoncester. As the story unfolds, we learn that Athelstan and Ingilmander are not just friends, but in fact, they are involved in a romantic relationship. However, Athelstan's actions are not what one would expect from a righteous king. His lover, Ingilmander, seems to hold a significant influence over him, and he manipulates Athelstan to attack and conquer many kingdoms, including breaking holy places erected as statues. As Uhtred comes to know about Athelstan's actions, he tries to reason with him and persuade him to stop his campaign of violence and return the kingdoms to their rightful kings. But what Uhtred sees next takes him by surprise. Athelstan is intimately involved with Ingilmander. This leads to a private conversation between Uhtred and Athelstan, where Uhtred tells him about Ingilmander's true intentions and asks him to not listen to him anymore. Despite the shock, Uhtred tries to persuade Athelstan to end the attacks and return the kingdoms to their rightful rulers. Uhtred confronts Athelstan about his ruthless tactics and is met with hostility. The plot thickens as Ingilmander orders an attack on Uhtred, which sets off a series of events that ultimately lead to a thrilling showdown between the two. Despite being caught off guard, Uhtred manages to escape and avoid certain death. However, his spy is not so fortunate and meets a tragic end. As if that's not enough, Ingilmander has his sights set on Northumbria, and Uhtred must act swiftly to stop him. Within Gilmander on the move under the cover of darkness, Uhtred seizes the opportunity to capture him. But Gilmander is a cunning adversary and knows how to play the game. He manipulates a woman serving in the area to trick Uhtred into thinking that a treasure has been found outside a nearby cave. As Uhtred and his soldiers rush to the location, they are ambushed by Gilmander's soldiers, throwing them into chaos. In the midst of the commotion, Uhtred is captured, and Gilmander is freed to continue his nefarious plans. It seems like our hero's luck has run out, but knowing Uhtred, he's not one to go down without a fight. The stakes are higher than ever, and the battle between Uhtred and Gilmander is far from over. The story takes a sudden and unexpected turn as Gilmander surrenders Uhtred to King Athelstan, who had already decided to execute him. However, fate had other plans in store. Athelstan, who had once been resolute in his decision to put Uhtred to death, suddenly found himself unable to carry out the deed. Instead, he chose to banish Uhtred from the kingdom, leaving him without a home and with no clear direction for his future. Despite his newfound sense of aimlessness, Uhtred quickly found himself caught up in a complex web of political intrigue in a new land. A local king offered him a deal he simply could not refuse: kill Athelstan, and the king would launch an attack on Wintoncester. But as Uhtred delved deeper into this dangerous plot, he began to realize that there was far more at stake than just one kingdom or one ruler. As Uhtred's suspicions grew, he stumbled upon a shocking revelation. Gilmander, the man who had handed him over to Athelstan in the first place, was involved in a massive conspiracy to overthrow the king and seize power for himself and his allies. With this knowledge in hand, Uhtred knew he had to act fast to stop Gilmander and his co-conspirators. Initially, Uhtred had agreed to the king's offer to assassinate Athelstan. However, when he arrived in the kingdom and witnessed firsthand the danger that threatened to engulf it, he had a change of heart. He warned Athelstan of the imminent attack by Anulf and other kings and revealed Gilmander's role in the conspiracy. But despite his warnings, Athelstan remained skeptical and once again exiled Uhtred, leaving him to ponder his next move in a world full of danger and uncertainty. Uhtred's heart was pounding as he saw his friends arrive. When they finally showed up, he was baffled by their question: "Why did you call us here?" Uhtred's response was quick and firm: that he had not called them. It was then that they realized they had fallen victim to a cruel prank. So, they set off to Northumbria. They soon received the news that Gilmander had launched a devastating attack on their beloved Northumbria. Uhtred and Egifu were beside themselves with worry when they couldn't locate their children. The fear that they had been taken captive by Anulf and Gilmander was almost too much to bear. But this was not the first time Uhtred and Egifu had faced adversity. They had already been exiled by Athelstan, and they knew what it took to fight back against injustice. So, they set out on a perilous journey to find their missing children, determined to protect their family at any cost. Finally, they came across Athelstan and his children. The relief that washed over them was overwhelming when they learned that their children were safe. Athelstan admitted his mistake in exiling Uhtred, and he revealed that Gilmander was indeed a traitor. He instructed Uhtred and Egifu to stay out of the battle, but Uhtred knew that he couldn't let Athelstan face this alone. He rallied his men and rode into battle with fierce determination, ready to fight alongside the king and protect their land. It was a fight for survival, and they would not back down. Uhtred knew that he had to be there for his family and his people, no matter what the cost. An epic war ensues as Uhtred's army faces off against Anulf's army, backed by 4 other kings. It's a fierce battle, but Uhtred's leadership and motivational skills help rally his soldiers. Meanwhile, Athelstan sets his sights on taking down Gilmander once and for all. As the two armies clash, the fighting is intense and brutal. But Uhtred's army is prepared and has a clever plan, which helps them gain the upper hand against their larger opponents. It's an intense and thrilling battle. Meanwhile, the tension between Athelstan and Gilmander boils over, leading to a violent confrontation on the battlefield. Although Athelstan emerges victorious and captures Gilmander, he orders his execution, reminding everyone of the brutal nature of war. Unfortunately, the victory comes at a great cost as Uhtred suffers a severe injury during the battle. However, after receiving proper care, he recovers after a few days. As Athelstan is crowned as the new king, Uhtred makes an unusual request of him, asking him to not have children or marry anyone and instead pass the throne to his brother Edmund after his death. Athelstan agrees to Uhtred's request, but little did he know, Uhtred had a hidden motive behind his demand. It turns out that Uhtred had uncovered Athelstan's true nature: he was gay and would never have children or marry. Uhtred recognized that this would ensure a stable future for the kingdom, as there would be no uncertainty regarding succession. And with that, the epic tale of Uhtred and Athelstan comes to an end. Did 7 kings die in the war? The chronicles remain silent on the matter, leaving us to ponder the fate of these rulers. But one thing is certain: Lord Uhtred will always be remembered as the greatest warrior of his age. Athelstan went on to rule for 15 years and is considered to be the first and greatest king of medieval England. The Danes continued to invade England until the eventual conquest by their Norman descendants in 1066. Despite the passage of time, the story of Uhtred and Athelstan remains a timeless tale of bravery, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between a warrior and his king. Thank you for watching and following along with the recap of this exciting movie. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more movie recaps and other engaging content.